My name is Barbara Harper Caldwell, and I've lived in the city since 1968, but I've been in the county all my life. I grew up in the country, down around North Douglas Elementary School. That was our community there. And when I moved to the city. Now, when we were in the country, growing up there, it was country. We didn't have neighbors that were near. We had neighbors that were far off. And we all connected, but we just didn't have that next door neighbor relationship that I have now. And we would walk to town, and when we missed a bus, and then I moved to the city, and it's just, it was during the time of segregation. Our schools were still segregated, and my elementary years, first through fifth grade, was at Old Hutchinson High School, which was over at Simpson's Mortuary now. And we moved to the new R.L. Cousins High School and elementary school in the sixth grade. So we used to, I don't want to get into all the other questions that you might have, but we were cotton pickers and bean pickers, and we went to help people on their farms and that kind of thing. We got our first telephone by working $25 a week for the whole family. My mother would carry us to the cotton field, to the green beans, and we picked cotton, we picked corn, pulled corn, and did all of those things that you do in the country. And school was one of our main things. But during the summer, when there was crops and things like that, we did miss some days from school. But we loved school, and my mother was always an educated-minded person. She wanted to make sure that we got our education and that we were raised that in the way that she was raised. So we got whippings. We didn't get spankings, we got whippings. And we didn't do this timeout stuff. My mother disciplined us, and certain words that we can say now, even as a child, we couldn't say them then. So it's a little bit, and then when I moved to the city, it was, I was married at the time, so it's different. Well, as a child, the only event that we had an opportunity to participate in was 4th of July. 4th of July parade. My mother would go and buy us new outfits to come, different outfits, I'll say, to come and to the parade. And we got the candy and got to sit there and see all of the clowns and that kind of thing. Those were the things that I remember as a child for the events. That's the only thing we could come to Douglasville for. And we didn't know anything about Christmas tree lighting and all of those things that we do now. We only had a car, transportation, years after I grew up a little bit. And I was a senior in high school before we got to have bacon out of the grocery store. Our bacon came from my stepfather killing hogs, and we would have our meat that way. And we would share it in the neighbors, but we didn't have the traditional breakfasts back then as we do now. It has changed. It has changed. And remember, I told you before that it was during the time of segregation, and I grew up when there were colored signs on the water fountains, colored signs on the restrooms, and when I had to go to it, when I went to college, there was a bus, a Greyhound. Wasn't a Greyhound bus, but it was a bus that came from Carrollton all the way to Atlanta. That's how I got into school. I would have to ride the bus, and at that time we were just building I-20. So you either go 78 or you go I-20. So I was able to go, but we still could sit at the back of the bus. And I was kind of defiant. I kind of sat at the middle of the bus where there was a seat. But we had dirt roads, and we didn't have the street signs, the street numbers. We had Route 3, I think, was ours. And we had our own buses, so we went to school. I was a patrol on the bus. And restaurants, we had to go to the side or go in the back. And the only one I can remember that we had, the first one was Dairy Queen. We had one Dairy Queen, but we would go to Austell for our Dairy Queen before that, and we'd have to get our food on the side. We couldn't go in the front of the restaurant. So those are the things. A lot of them has changed. Relationships, at that time, my mother didn't teach racism, or she didn't teach a difference in color, a difference in nationality, a difference in any of that. My mother taught us to love everybody. We were a very spiritual Christian family, and we were brought up in the church. And then I found out I was the church, and that's how I lived my life after then, because I love people. I'm not concerned about your color. And it bothers me when I see that happening, because we're all here in the same earth, universe that was made by God. And so he's still in control, and we should learn to live with each other and enjoy each other instead of fighting and all of the hatred. So I don't like that part. And I try to, as much as I possibly can, to dispel that kind of attitude, that kind of atmosphere, because I love people. Personally, I love the city. I love living here. My husband was from Winston, and when we got married in '68, we moved to Douglasville. And at that time, I loved it. And I started teaching school here. I started at L.W. Burnett. Then I moved to Douglasville Junior High, and then to Douglas County High School. And during the time that when we moved here, my husband ran for city councilor, and he made it on that term. And we would walk Mother Lula Parker, and I, and a lot of others, Benny White, we would walk the dirt roads and get people to register for voting. And we did not have representation on the local governments or anything of that, or even the state governments at the time. And so I remember my husband, as a city councilman, went to Washington along with other delegates and Homer Danley, and we've got the ward system so that we could have representation on the city council. So I come from a time when we didn't have it. And then professionally, I was teaching school, and I taught school 9 years, and I taught in those different levels, and decided I wanted to do something else. And so that's when my life really kind of changed. But professionally, everybody was very cordial and nice. We did have, incidents like you have everywhere. But our neighbors were very cordial and nice to us. But everybody was in their own neighborhood. Black people in their neighborhood, white people in their neighborhood. And this thing about not being able to purchase a house or be beside somebody of another race, we just didn't look at that. We didn't look at it that way. Now, as a judge, I was appointed in 1984. So I had 40 years. But now, I was working in commercial bank. At that time, here again, we didn't have representation as far as color in these different businesses and so forth. And I was one of the first, along with Mr. Dones, I was to integrate the commercial bank. Bob Pope in Virginia was very nice to me, and I came in at the bottom and worked my way up to Director of Education, and then and stayed with them for 4 years. And then I was asked by Leonard Danley, and Stephen Messenger was the chief magistrate at the time, and asked it, during the time it had switched from Justice of the Peace. I don't know if you're too young, you may not know about it. Justice of the Peace. And so it switched in 1983, I believe it was, to magistrate court. So Steve needed somebody to fill a position. So he asked me, and it was part-time. And that's how I started, from being appointed. And I did not, I didn't have a law degree. My background was education. I was a teacher and had taught 9 years. So I had no clue as to what I was getting myself in. So at that time, I went to my pastor and my mother and my husband and asked, what do y'all think about this, me accepting this position? And so they were all for it. Well, everybody except my pastor's the one who really encouraged me. My mother and my husband was kind of afraid because still here again, no blacks, especially female judges. There wasn't any. And so my pastor and I prayed about it, and he encouraged me to go ahead and step out. So I spoke with Stephen Messenger, the chief. He came in and talked to me about it and asked me why, what did I think I could do? And I told him that if I took the job, I pretty much would be an open door type judge, and I wanted to be in a position where someone would feel free to come and sit and talk. So we were in the old courthouse at the time, and I was here. I grew up when the first courthouse burned down, and that was the only connection I had. We came to pay taxes at that time, and so I wasn't, I didn't know anything about the government, but I took the job, and I think I was where the people could identify with. They could talk with me. I would go in the grocery stores, and here they come, Judge Caldwell, how you doing, so forth, ask questions. And it was a hard time for me to not try to give legal advice to them. And they couldn't understand that because I was a judge and I was supposed to know everything and I was supposed to know everybody. But I had to learn how to speak with them and calm them down and kind of give them some encouragement. And I even do that from the bench. I let people know that they're human beings, and I recognize that they're human beings. And it was very hard for me at the beginning because my Bible tells me not to judge people. But being in this position, that's what I do, is judge people. But I have to judge people in a manner that still would be pleasing in God's sight, and that they could be edified with and be encouraged with, even though they were in trouble, that they weren't the only ones and they won't probably be the last ones, and let them know that they're still human and they had some hope. And so there were some other things that I was asked to be the judge of the Scared Straight program. MACE, we call it MACE from the Sheriff's Department, making a change early. And but then Scared Straight put it on, and when I go over the county, go to other states, people have seen it. I had a doctor call me all the way from Philadelphia that was talking about one of the cases that we had and how she could help. And one of the prisoners in Sing Sing, I think it's Chicago, New York, Sing Sing, and he wrote me a letter. I became a pen pal for him. And when he got out of prison, he went to school, became a real estate agent, and came and brought his family to meet me in Georgia. So those are the kind of things that kind of inspired me to keep going and to keep staying there. But the negative side of it was resentment. I think some of the attorneys and people in the county that were judges and so forth didn't accept me because of the fact that I didn't have that law degree. But that was God. I had nothing to do with it. God put me in the position at that time, and I'm still there today, but hopefully won't be long. Well, the Scared Straight thing show, I'm proud of that because I still have families and parents now who come to me and say, I make my daughter watch your program over and over. They taped it, and because discipline was my thing from the bench. And I let them know that, if you're gonna be grown, then you're gonna have to pay the price of being a grown person. But anyway, so that was one. And then I started a foundation, Higher Standards Foundation, in 2008 when my husband passed. And that was to help inmates reentry program. On the bench, you see people that are so depressed and depraved and just unhappy, and life doesn't mean anything anymore. And that struck my heart. And I said, well, I'm going to try to help in any way that I can. So when they serve their time and come back, can't get a job, some of them can't live in different places. And so that's why I started Higher Standards Foundation. I let them know that if you want to do better, then you have some help. Somebody here that can help you get an education, help you find a job, help you find housing, and help you find counseling and be there for you. And after that time, we had a lot of other organizations that were focused in on reentry. So now we just cater to the families, and we try to provide scholarships for the children of inmates, of people that are in prison or reentry people that can't find jobs. So we try to help them get an education, the family get an education, and children. And another thing was I am a Bible distributor. I collect Bibles, and I'm a distributor for Pathway Ministries in Tennessee, and I have collected Bibles for over 20 years from yard sales, anybody that can donate Bibles to me. And that is my heart, because I'm so into and so commissioned to get the word out, because I know if you get the word out and you come in the knowledge of the Lord Jesus Christ, it's going to make you a better person. And it comes from the Word. That's the only place you're going to get it, out of the Word of God, is to know the Lord, is from His Word. So that was my thing. And so they would send the Bibles to the countries that did not have access to Bibles. And that's my heart. That's my heart right there. And then I started the initiative, New Horizons Task Force. It was called Across the Tracks. And I didn't like that. Every community, every town you go into in Georgia pretty much has Across the Tracks. Well, I didn't like that. I think that there are other communities that have their names, and so I was asked to mobilize the community and see if we could come together and organize, and so that's what I did. I started, got another group of people that lived in the community to come together, and we decided to petition the city council, the mayor, and so forth, for better living arrangements for the north side. And we come up with the name New Horizons Community. And the city council and the mayor, Mayor Robinson, and our council representative, Miss Dr. Danley, and Sam Davis was one of ours as well. And they responded. So now we have Jesse Davis Park, that is state-of-the-art park, I want to say, and I'm very proud of it. And we're looking to get a grocery store and some other things that we can enjoy on the New Horizons community side. And I'm very proud of that. Well, I hope our relationships won't be so divided as far as party is concerned and that kind of stuff. I would like to see us come together as a community. I would also like to see our growth to kind of level off, maybe. because you very seldom see people that you knew, and everybody is new to the county. We want people to come in and so forth, but it can get so big that you don't feel like it's Douglasville anymore. But I just like to see us to continue to grow in areas, but maybe not so much as becoming like big metro. We're metro, but not big metro. And I think that might be a little selfish, but I like the hometown community. My love for the Lord is most important to me. And as a judge, without him, I wouldn't have been able to make it, being the only black and the only female for so many, many years. But I do feel like that as a result of that doors were open for other people, other female judges and anybody else who would like to be a judge. And I think also that I did bridge the gap for a lot of attorneys from Atlanta and other areas over there to come to Douglasville, because they were very hesitant about coming and practicing here because of the old, what they call good old boy stuff. And I think I tried very much to dispel of a lot of that attitude about Douglas County. And as you can see, the county has grown as far as that is concerned. We got attorneys now that you could have two if you wanted to. But at that time, you could probably count attorneys on one hand in Douglas County. But now we have many, many attorneys. So I just thank God for allowing me to be a part. I started Bible study back in 2004, and it's still going. It was, we use a room at Jesse Davis Park, and it has grown. It's been over, since 2004, over 24 years, and we still do it. And we do it online now as well. So thank you for bringing that up, because that's my heart as well. Bible study. That's something the Lord directed me to do. Don't know everything, and that's even as a judgeship. I don't know how. People think I know everything, but I don't. I never have gone to the bench without praying for guidance, for direction, because the one thing that really got me again is that these are human beings. These are people, bad people, good people, whatever, all of us. And the only reason we weren't sitting on the other side is we didn't get caught. All of us have broken the law at one time or another. And so I had to always remember that, is that I'm dealing with God's people, His creation. And I must treat them the way I would like to be treated. And with fairness and humility and truth, all of that. Just treat them the way. And that has kept me. It's kept me, because I keep remembering and I keep praying for myself and for anybody that come before me. And I can't remember I think I've done about 1,000 weddings. And I would always tell them, I don't marry, perform any ceremonies unless I pray in the name of Jesus. And I only had one out of all of the weddings I performed to say no, and that was because of their faith. I think Jehovah's Witnesses would not. And I said, okay. And they understood, and I said, but I will not do it. And I also, it's Jesus, that's it. And if I can't pray in His name and help you with the marriage, because there's going to be 3 people in your marriage, you and your spouse and the devil, or you and your spouse and God. So I'm going to try to help you get started.